Dear Tim, my teacher says that I need to work on my sentence fluency. Can you help me? From Will. No problem, Will, but I'm going to get some help. Since Moby is in the repair shop today, I'm going to call upon my trusty Terminator 800. Let's start by using Hulu the cat as an example. Hulu is a tuxedo cat. She sneaks around the house. Hulu is very protective. She often hides under blankets. She hisses at people who come too close. Hulu can be very clever. She chases her own tail. Okay. These sentences may be grammatically correct and accurate descriptions of Hulu. The problem is that they are all written in simple sentences, so they sound boring, and it's not clear how some of these sentences are connected to each other. One way you can improve your sentences is by adding sentence variety. Just as buildings have different structures that make them unique, you can vary the structure of your sentences to add variety and make your writing more engaging. For example, you can combine simple sentences together to form complex sentences, which include one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. Let's look at this sentence. While Hulu can be very clever, she looks silly when she chases her own tail. That's actually true, by the way. In this sentence, while Hulu can be very clever is the dependent clause, and she looks silly when she chases her own tail is the independent clause. You can refer to this visual chart for a quick review of dependent and independent clauses. Another type of sentence is the compound sentence. Compound sentences are sentences that contain two or more independent clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction or a semicolon. In this sentence, Hulu is a tuxedo cat and she sneaks around the house are both independent clauses joined by a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Right! Coordinating conjunctions connect words, phrases, or independent clauses that are grammatically equal. They're kind of like glue that holds parts of sentences together. Common coordinating conjunctions are the fanboys, which include for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. If you want to show what a sophisticated writer you are, you can use compound complex sentences. These are sentences that include at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. Here's an example. Although Hulu often hides under blankets, she is very protective, and she hisses at people who come too close. Well, just adding sentence variety to your sentences is not enough. You also need to make sure they are structurally sound. Buildings that are not structurally sound are likely to collapse. Similarly, sentences that don't have a strong structure will fall apart. Now, let's use Dodo the cat as an example. Consider this sentence. Dodo is always hungry, he never stops begging for food. Oftentimes, students write down their thoughts and forget to punctuate. This is a common type of sentence structure error called the run-on sentence. We can fix this problem by adding a period or a semicolon. No, you can't just put a comma there because these two are independent clauses. This is another common type of error called the comma splice. When we want to join independent clauses together in one sentence, a comma alone is not enough. We need to add a conjunction or use a semicolon instead. For instance, Dodo is always hungry, so he never stops begging for food. We can also write, Dodo never stops begging for food because he is always hungry. If a sentence is too short or incomplete, that's called a sentence fragment. A sentence fragment is a group of words that might look like a sentence, but is missing a subject, a verb, or a complete thought, so it doesn't make sense on its own. Always waiting by the door and shrieks at visitors who enter is an example of a sentence fragment because the subject is missing. It makes much more sense to say, always waiting by the door, Dodo shrieks at visitors who enter. Wait, what? You think grammar's too complicated, so you want to destroy humanity to save humans from having to learn grammar? What have I done? I don't feel too good. I think I'll just curl up into the fetal position on the floor. This video was brought to you by BrainBURST, where you'll learn so much your brain will explode! Figuratively speaking, of course.
I'll be back.